Individual brilliance, absolutely. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back to the Sports Spotlight. I'm your host, Rizwan, and with me, after some technical difficulties, I do have my good buddy and a wonderful soccer mind, Manny from Kansas City. Good morning, man. How are you?
Hello, hello. I'm doing well, Rizwan. How are you?
I'm doing well. Yo, living large, man. I wish I'd laid down a G or two on my prediction of a
Yeah,
1-0 victory by Spain. I was doing the analysis while we were having difficulties
yeah,
getting you on the air. Um, I actually looked into it. You know, Shep and I often talk about. I think maybe you and I haven't necessarily talked about it, but there's a reason one does not gamble on sports. But boy, oh boy, if I looked it up, if one had before the finals match, if one had put in $100 bet, $100 bet that Spain would win this 1-0 in extra time, it would have paid somewhere, depending upon the book or where you placed it, would have paid about between 500 and 700 bucks, which means a
dang, that's
thousand
it.
bucks, a
That's
thousand
pretty
bucks would have
good.
resulted in 50 to 70 large.
Wait, so you had to bet that it was gonna go into extra time? I couldn't just be in regular
Oh, you
time,
can
one
you,
nothing.
you can bet whatever you want.
Yeah,
I'm saying if
that's
the
the
bet had been that accurate, that hey,
sure.
this is going to be 0-0 at the end of regulation, and then Spain wins in extra time 1-0,
I see,
that particular bet would have paid
man.
you. And boy, I tell you, if you'd put a hundred on it and won, 5 to 700, nobody blinks, right? If you'd put 1,000 on it and won 50 to 70,000, there might have been some grumblings, but the book would pay. But if you'd put 10,000 on it and you're winning half a mil, you better believe Tony would pay you a visit, and you might end up with some end up with some
New crutches.
questions to answer. Whether or not you've got Biff's Sports Almanac that you're using, that you got from Back to the Future, and knew the results of the games ahead of time. So it's always a slippery slope, right? How much you bet on these games. But look, that's why you don't bet, because well, was
It's
there a
haram.
guarantee?
Yes.
Yes. Look, as accurate as my prediction was this time, it's not always exactly right. So that's why you don't really make these exact. I always remember, Shep would know, we have a common friend. I'm not going to name any names here. Many, many years ago, back in college, I think Shep was with us. We went to Philadelphia, Mississippi. We were all 21 years old, 21 or older. Philadelphia, Mississippi, with the Indian reservation, Native American reservation casinos,
Wow.
and we were walking out. We had a good time. We were walking out after a number of hours spent there, and a buddy of ours just takes and lays down we're literally on the way out. There's a roulette table right at the end. Lays down $5 on, like, I wish I could remember what the number was. I think it was like 32. Just puts we're on our way out. Takes out $5, puts it on 32. They spin the wheel, comes up 32.
So,
35 to 1.
holy hell. So he got
So
35 times five. He got that
yeah,
much.
yes, yeah. So I mean, is it life changing in the grand scheme of things? Not really. Is it life changing for a college kid, a 21-year-old college kid? All of a sudden, on your way out, you get, what,
75.
175, just
Wow.
on your way out. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that's
yeah.
crazy.
He was living large. Um,
Philadelphia, Mississippi, huh? That's the Timu of Mississippi, of Philadelphia. Because look,
that's the
MISSISSIPPISSISSIM.
Whoa, look
You,
at you.
yeah, you went to school in Mississippi. Did they teach you how to spell Mississippi forward and backward?
Actually, when you grow up in Mississippi, it's not Mississippi, it's Mississippi. It's Mississippi, Mississippi. That's how you say it. Yeah, I live in
Mississippi.
Philadelphia, Mississippi.
Mississippi. That makes sense. No,
But hey, we also have libraries there, so that's a
No.
whole different. Let's not get into that.
Mississippi Masala. That's a good movie.
That is a good movie. All right.
Oh, to Zoran's mom. All right.
Yep, absolutely. Hey, life is nothing but connections, right?
Yes.
Hey, so let's get back to we talked about what a scary thing this young Spanish squad is. Right before the break, I was talking about not just the fact we're beyond the fact of what they did in this World Cup, but these 19, 20-year-old stars that this Spanish squad has, they're gonna get better. They're gonna get stronger. They might even get a tad faster. As a soccer player generally will reach a male soccer player will generally reach his peak between 22, 23 and until about 25, 26.
Right.
So when the next World Cup rolls around, by the time the next World Cup rolls around, these kids will be the defending champs. They will be bigger, stronger, with more experience. So what chance does the rest of the world have? I mean, is this a foregone conclusion? I know it's 4 years down the line. It's 2030. There's a lot that can happen, a lot that can go on. And there's never a guarantee that this type of talent will actually, every single one of them will progress and get better in accordance with that trajectory, right?
Mm.
But so a lot can happen. But just looking at the young talent on the Spanish squad that we saw, what are your thoughts? Like, are they going to be the favorites
Oh,
going
I mean,
into 2030?
yeah, most definitely. I mean, as you mentioned, they're still young. I mean, Lamine himself was just 18 years old, right?
18
so
or
he's
19,
only going to
yeah.
be 22,
Yep.
and
Just
he was
just reaching his
recently
peak.
at age 16. He was the best player at the Euro, right? That
Yep.
they also won. And this is actually one of the only times, or very rare, for a team to win the Euro championship in soccer and then to go and to win the World Cup. So they're definitely no fluke that Spain was the clear better team. How they dominated against Argentina. But yeah, you're right. I mean, Lamine Yamal, he's the star of the team. Obviously, didn't have the most goals in the World Cup, or even was on the list of those players that had scored. From Holland to France's Mbappe
with
and
17
and
goals.
Argentina's Messi. But I'm telling you, man, you're absolutely right. This team is going to be the one to beat because they're not going to be defending champions. But these core players haven't even hit their prime yet. Aside from Lamine, you've got Pedri. I think he's plays for
He's 19,
Barcelona. He's a
yeah.
midfielder, right? He's just 23 right now, so he's also going to be only 27. And you got Gavi. You've got one of the other guys, the forward that plays for Atletico. I think it's Nico Williams. This team is going to be the one to beat. Obviously, I think France is going to be there too, especially Mbappe's still young. They got Dembele. They've got great players in France. But in Argentina, I don't know what they're going to do with. Obviously, I think Messi's done, but it's still a very good team.
Look,
but no,
in 20
Spain will be the team to beat. And I see them, defending at least in 2028 the Euro. Like they should be in the final and at least get to the semifinals and final. But for the World Cup, which I believe next one is going to be, is it right? Is it
2030?
Morocco, Spain, and Portugal, right? I believe it's those three countries. I believe are hosting the next one.
They're going to be the best team, and they're going to be hosts.
They're going to be hosting too. Exactly. I'm just looking it up.
Just give them every advantage.
Cup is hosted across Morocco, Portugal, and Spain. So that'll give them another, a little bit advantage, defending champions and having some of those matches there. But yeah, that's definitely the team to beat, man. They're solid both on defense, and then they have the offensive playmakers in those young guys to get the ball in the net.
Absolutely. Hey, Manny, before we move forward, I got to tell our listeners real quick. If you've been injured, your life can change in an instant. You need someone who understands you, your language, your background, your community, someone who will stand up for you and fight for what's right. Attorney Zorha Mavani of Mavani Hernandez Law Firm, PLLC, proudly presents families, represents rather families across DFW and Houston in car accidents, truck accidents, rideshare injuries, workplace injuries, wrongful death, and much, much more. With over a decade of experience, Attorney Zorha Mavani believes you are more than just another case, but that you actually deserve a voice. If you've been hurt, Attorney Zorha Mavani fights for you. Call now at 469-494-3990 for your free consultation or visit the Voice of Texas, www.mavanihernandezlaw.com. Attorney Zohra Mavani, Texas की आवाज. चलिए, we'll get back to the soccer world. So, Spain's going to be great. Let's talk about, and you kind of alluded to it, let's talk about Argentina's remarkable run, the last hurrah from Messi, because yes, in 2030, a 43-year-old Messi is not going to be playing, right? I know we've gotten spoiled by the LeBrons, and that's foreshadowing. We're gonna get to that in a little bit. We've been spoiled by the LeBrons and the Tom Brady's the last couple of years, but 40-plus-year-old athletes are not supposed to dominate
for the most part, yeah. Especially for a grueling sport like soccer.
No way. I mean, frankly, what he did. We'll get into Argentina and Infantino and the refereeing and all that, but what Messi individually did as a 39-year-old player in this World Cup is still phenomenal, right? He played well for the most part until Spain just shut him down. But let's talk about Messi's legacy. Let's assume he's not playing in 2030. This is it. So he got passed up by the all-time by Mbappe for the all-time World Cup goals. He lost the final by basically being just, I mean, they did to him the worst thing you can do to a soccer player, right? The Spanish defense did. The worst thing that you can do to a soccer player is make them invisible on the field, and that's kind of what they did, right?
Yeah,
we just
took him out of the game.
He was completely invisible in that game until maybe the last couple of minutes where he made a couple of plays. But what does that mean? Forget about, we've talked about their defensive prowess and we understand how they did it. What does that mean for Messi's legacy? And then afterward, like his behavior, what he did afterward, I think there was some controversy. So
yeah. No, I mean, look, Messi is still clearly going down as one of the greatest players of all time, and that was before this tournament started, right?
Yeah.
Let's consider that he never even played this tournament. He was already going down as one of the top 10 players, right?
Yep.
Some definitely have him in their top 5. But I think the jury was out whether he was the greatest player of all time. I don't know why in this tournament, like the current administration of FIFA or who the powers that may be, they wanted to try to get him into the greatest of all time discussion.
Yeah.
Like, let's put Maradona and Pele and Johan Cruyff and anyone else, past winners, Zinedine Zidane. Let's put them all to bed and say Messi is the greatest of all. Like, I don't know where that decision came from, but clearly that's not how the story ended. For that to have happened, he would have had to won this final or even get to a final, which he got to a final. But how he got to the final is where, like, the story gets interesting.
He didn't get there without help, did he?
Yeah, he got a lot of help, man, starting with, Cabo Verde and then Egypt, what happened, and then go on down the list. He's clearly someone that, look, I'm one of those guys that all these years people are Ronaldo or Messi. Ronaldo, the Portugal Ronaldo, or Messi is your favorite player. For me, it was neither. It was Ruud Gullit back in the day for Holland. He played for AC Milan back in the 90s and the 2000s. And for me, that was my favorite player. But between Ronaldo and Messi, I was always more of a Ronaldo fan. I don't know why. I would pick Ronaldo.
Yeah.
Anyway, for those of us that were in the Ronaldo versus Messi camp, this tournament has actually taken some of the shine away from Messi. Not because he doesn't have the skills, he does. He clearly still has the skill, being one of the leading scorers. But it's like some of the shine has come off of his sportsmanship, right?
Hmm.
Like he is a little bit of a crybaby, one to the ref every time, and he does get that call a lot of times. And yeah, I for me personally, just because how uh, Argentina has really been helped to get to the final, and it's not against Messi, it's really against basically FIFA administration itself. But coming away from this tournament, man, I actually have lost a little bit of respect for Messi simply because I saw some of those plays where he was, just very instrumental in getting a penalty called or getting the
Hmm.
suspension or things like that. So, but no, he's definitely still one of the greatest of all time. He would go down, in my book, certainly in the top 10 and maybe in the top 5. But to me, the greatest player still is Pele, and
Pele.
then Maradona, and then goes
Yeah.
from there.
Yeah. I mean, that's, yeah, we talked about that last week. And yes,
Yeah,
in my book, look, he would have just equaled one of the records of Pele if he had won this one. If he had won this one, he would have been
yeah,
the first one to go back to back since Pele did. But Pele
right.
also has 3 championships because he came back in 1970 and won a third one.
Yeah,
So yeah, there was no question in my mind. Um, uh, you know what I realized watching this World Cup?
mhm,
It was one of those epiphanal moments, right? Really, as I was watching it, this was happening, but this was once it was complete, as I sat and reflected and reviewed and just cogitated on everything that was the 2026 World Cup. What I realized was this was the Americanization of the FIFA World Cup. And
yeah,
I don't just say that because it took place in the Americas. No,
right.
I don't
Hydration
just
break.
say that because it became so popular in the United States this time than any past iteration of the World Cup. I say it because of exactly what you touched on. Look, soccer players have always been, there's the knock on them has always been the whole faking injuries to get cards, right? The
Right,
the whole, there are memes, there's the um uh just the just the standard talk of how everybody, the stereotype that everybody talks about of the soccer
right.
player writhing in pain for 2 minutes until the
Yeah,
card comes out and then getting up and jogging off, right?
yeah. It's
Yes,
shameful.
yes, that's always been the case. But what we saw this year is the true Americanization of the sport, in that Messi became the Tim Duncan who complains and complains and gets the calls. He became the Tom Brady who complains and complains and gets an overbalanced number, amount, percentage of calls,
Right.
right? We
Yep.
and your boy LeBron a little bit over the last couple of decades. It's
Oh
just
yeah.
we saw that. We saw that. And that's, unfortunately, is the Americanization of the sport that I saw. And that's not a good thing. That's not a good thing. A player should never have that type of influence. And it's going to sound like I'm speaking out of both sides of my mouth here. There's always has been and always will be, because of the human factor of the officials, there's always going to be a little bit of a bias toward a superstar in the calls that the referee, the human, makes in the moment. And I understand that we can try to make those calls as objective as possible. We can try to coach, teach, enforce, all that good stuff. There's going to be a little bit of that influence, but the player can't be directly involved in influencing those decisions. And
Yep.
that's what I hated about the Tim Duncan time, as good as a player he was, as great as a dynasty, as great as a coach Pop Popovich was, that's what I hated about the fact that Tim Duncan was complaining every single play and was getting late calls and very inconclusive calls and very touchy feely calls because he complained incessantly. And that's what I saw with the Tom Brady era for 15,
Mm.
20 years. And that's what I saw in this World Cup. And yeah, that Americanization of soccer is not a good thing. I did
Mhm.
not like it one bit. It just, sports is supposed to be about fair play, right?
Yeah.
Put your best against my best, line up, and let's
Mm.
go. Let's go. Let's compete and
Right.
see who comes out on
Let's
top.
settle this. Right.
When you start to influence the way the game is officiated, you're
Mm.
taking away from the sport that you supposedly love.
Yeah.
So winning should not be the end all be all. These players, I don't know, it's easy for me to say. I'm sitting here in a studio pontificating. These guys are out there competing. I get it.
Yeah.
But look, we've both played sports, not at these levels, but we've both played sports. And to me, nothing in any of the sports in which I've competed, nothing has ever been more important than fair play. Let's line up,
Absolutely.
and using my knowledge, my skill, my acumen, let's see if I can come up victorious over you in a fair competition. That
Yeah, absolutely.
should be the goal. And that was taken away when the best player, the supposedly best player in the tournament, definitely the best player on this one team, is complaining to the refs
Mhm.
and getting those calls as a result of that complaining. That
Yeah,
takes away from the fair play.
absolutely, man. Fair play is actually FIFA's motto, I believe, and
they
it,
need
it,
they
it
need
has
new
been in the past.
leadership.
And yeah, and what I want to say is that I think this particular final, I'm glad that Spain won and Argentina lost because it kind of saved football in a way.
Yeah.
It for the rest of the world that wanted fair play and could see the heavy-handedness in how FIFA had guided Argentina. Well, I can't even call them Argentina anymore. It's always
Argentina.
Argentina now for the VAR. And yeah, it would have been just a huge failure if Argentina had won. And you're right. It would have been okay, man. If it would have not been okay had Argentina won. Thank God Spain won, so that the integrity of football is still there, maybe somewhat.
What somewhat,
Despite the
yeah.
heavy-handedness that Infantino orchestrated. But yeah, sports is all about fair play and all about chance. As soon as you start corrupting it with sports betting and with casino moguls making sure this team loses and that, then we may as well stop playing these games. We really may as well just stop. Because that's the one thing that depends on chance and skill. And that's what still makes life fun, right?
Yeah.
That's why we gather around and watch the game. Because it's so unpredictable. As soon as you start putting your thumb on the thing, no, it stops being fun, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, we have gotten to a point that we need to take another break, but we're going to come right back. I think this is going to be a short break. We're going to come back and we're going to finish out some of this soccer conversation and then get into one of the greatest of all time players of
LeBron
another
James.
sport. Yes.
I'm
We're gonna
buying
be-
me a Philly jersey, man.
Oh my goodness. That came out of, I don't want to say it came out of nowhere, but it was a surprise. It was a surprise that LeBron decided to take his talents out east to Philly.
The process just became royal.
Yeah, so interesting. We're going to talk all about that, but yeah, real quick, short break. We're going to come back. You're listening to the Sports Spotlight with Rizwan and Manny right here on Radio Azad.
Listening to Radio Azad on
KDXX
107.9